Well, the refugee crisis is increasing tensions between some Eastern European countries. Hungary accuses neighboring Croatia of breaking international law. This comes after a train of refugees escorted by 40 Croatian police officers arrived unannounced in the Hungarian capital overnight. Meanwhile, on Croatia's border with Serbia, thousands more refugees are on the move. Freelance reporter Rebecca Collard is with them and joins us now with the latest.
Well, basically, Rashmi, this morning we've just seen this continued flow of refugees across the border into Croatia. Not as high numbers as 2 days ago, but still between 200 and 300 per hour crossing from Serbia into Croatia. And most of them are arriving. They've arrived in the last 24 hours from Macedonia to the south, with the southern border with Serbia, come up directly and are now crossing into Croatia. So we have, just hundreds of people, families, other people, Afghans, Syrians, Iraqis, just trying to make this trek into Croatia this morning, Rashmi.
This crisis seems to be straining relations among Eastern European countries, with Hungary now accusing Croatia of breaking international law. What more can you tell us on that?
Well, basically, of course, we know that last week Hungary actually shut its border, sealed it with this fence, and implemented these new laws to basically deter refugees from passing through its territory. And since then, what we're seeing is people diverting their route to Croatia. However, many of the people that passed into Croatia in the last couple of days were bussed up towards the Hungarian border. So again, found themselves on the Hungarian border. I think the number is around 6,000 crossed into Hungary. And of course, what Hungary is saying is that Croatia set them up to illegally cross. So basically diverting people back to Hungary. And so I think it reflects this bigger crisis among the European countries on how to deal with this. I was speaking to a woman from the UN Refugee Agency yesterday, and what she says they're calling for is a coordinated effort among these European states on how to deal with this. But as of yet, we're just seeing people close their borders and then, tough words between bordering states about whose responsibility these people are, Rashmi.
That's Rebecca Collard on the Serbia-Croatia border. Now, many of those refugees flooding European borders are fleeing chaos in Syria. The violence is escalating there. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is in London to talk about the crisis, and CBC's Dominic Velitis has details.
The violence very much continues. As you mentioned, we had those government airstrikes on the ISIS-held city of Palmyra yesterday. Witnesses on the ground are reporting there are around 30 strikes in total, and if that is true, these are unconfirmed reports, it would make it one of the heaviest bombardments yet on that particular city. We're told that at least 26 were killed, including 12 militants, and around 100 were injured as a result. Elsewhere in the country, there are additional reports this morning of a mass execution in the northwest of the country. We're hearing that 56 members of the Syrian government forces were shot dead at an airbase in Idlib province, which was captured by an alliance of groups, including the al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front earlier this month. And finally, more than 60 were killed in air raids by Syrian government forces in rebel-held areas of Aleppo this week, as government forces and insurgents exchanged intense fire in the divided city. We're being told that all of those killed were civilians, among them 15 children. Rashmi.
Right now, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has been talking about Syria while in London there. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, it looks like those talks are now over, and topping the agenda, we understand, was the conflict in Syria and the refugee crisis. John Kerry said that President Assad, Syria's president, had to go, but that doesn't have to happen, in his words, on day one. He also said that he had agreed with his UK counterpart, Philip Hammond, that there was an urgent need for countries to come together to resolve the Syrian conflict, and that Russia and Iran can help bring Assad to the negotiating table as part of that process. Before coming here, incidentally, he held talks with Russia, discussions he described as an important first step to avoid either side coming into conflict with the other in Syria. Russia, as we now know, is really ramping up its presence in the country in support of its ally, President Bashar al-Assad. Indeed, those planes which launched the attacks on Palmyra I was just telling you about were reportedly armed with new high-tech Russian munitions that were recently flown into the country and really give the Syrian Air Force a greater degree of accuracy. Rashmi.
That's Dominic Velitis in London.